what's going on? Slightly relatable. We are back for another week. We are post-election night, 2024, post-election, and we have a new president-elect, Donald Trump.
A new, old president-elect. I like how they always were calling him former President Trump. Do you think they'll call him future President Trump now whenever they...
Yeah, it's always funny, too, because it's like he's the 45th and then the 47th president.
He literally pulled a Grover Cleveland right now. It's Grover. Like, us Cleveland heads are losing our favorite president now that Trump's taking his spotlight.
Were you a big Grover Cleveland guy?
Oh, yeah. I love his policy about that thing he did that one time that we loved. We still all remember.
Yeah. Grover Cleveland. Good guy.
He's a good guy.
He's a great guy, right? He's
one of the best guys ever.
If he was alive today, he'd be in my cabinet, right? But yeah, long night again. Thankfully, it didn't go into today, which I thought could happen. I thought could be around 9 o'clock this morning.
The Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin secretaries of state were like, we won't know the result till like 5 days. Like, this annoys me so much because, okay, even if it's not like some rigged thing, because obviously half the country believes everything is fake, but just for the sake of their own schizophrenic peace of mind, just get it done that day. Like France, all these other countries, they have it. They're all paper ballots. It's done in an hour. They know. Florida does it. It's like 3 times the population of Pennsylvania, though, but they were like, it might be 5 days before we know. And then, all these like boomers go to sleep. Like, oh, yeah, Trump's winning. And they wake up and he was like down a lot. So they thought it was rigged, whether it was rigged or not, whatever. But yeah, they said it could go on and on and on. But I didn't believe it. But the Orange Man, he pulled off an electoral landslide. And more than that, he won the popular vote, the thing that they thought he would never get.
Yeah, no. And like, I don't know how, people aren't skeptical about the, voter fraud when you have these, it just so happened that, the 6 states that were going to really be up for grabs took all night to tally.
It's a coincidence. Just don't think about it too much. It's just probably, just don't worry. It's the important states just happen to lay that way. You probably shouldn't investigate it any further. And if you raise any more questions, I think you should possibly go to jail.
Yeah. So Donald Trump comes away with the W. And what looks to be a landslide. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a closer election, but it just goes to show yet again the polls tell you absolutely nothing. Don't follow the polls.
That was so funny. They were trying to get ahead of it. They're like, all right, we know we fucked up 2016, and we also know we fucked up 2020, but we made sure to we know we got it this time. And then they had that like Seltzer poll in Iowa. He was down by 3. He ended up winning by like 14 or something. So that was off by 17 points. So I don't know if these polls are just like rigged or something about Trump fans where they just think everything's a scam. They refuse to answer any pollster. I know when I get polls, I screw with them and I say like I'm like a far left like Trump supporter who is like for an anti-abortion, and like I just pick like I try and make the most nonsensical character just to like waste their time and throw them off. And yeah, like I think like the Israel doesn't go far enough. They should kill more people, but I want universal health care for everyone. I try and make like a voter that doesn't exist and just throw them off. And I hope that they've wasted like thousands of hours and stuff, and then
I'm a Trump supporter who loves immigration.
Like I'm Kamala, but I'm all for the open or I'm for the closed border. We need mass deportations. That's why I'm voting for Kamala. And I just try and make these nonsensical things. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge industry. I don't know how many billions of dollars trying to, all these little nerds and stuff trying to tally on a board. Oh, this is how it's gonna go. And
not to toot my own horn, but I did say to you guys last week. I said it's not going to be close. I did say that last week.
He called it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I kind of. Yeah. I said it was. I felt good about it, and I felt like, Trump was going to be the heavy hitter in the fight. And
I started believing the propaganda that the Puerto Rico comment by that dumbass Kill Tony guy. Mm-hmm. Like all the Puerto Ricans saw you're basura Trump, and we'll vote for it. But no, Trump has he has broken the Democratic coalition. He won a majority of the Latino male vote. He took 20% of the black male vote. turnout was down 15 million votes, or every single county has moved Trump. The margins he achieved in New Jersey, 5%. New York was closer for Trump than Florida was closer for Kamala. So he's completely destroyed the blue wall, and all these states are in play. So clearly the kitchen table issue of inflation played a huge role. But is that part of a larger seismic shift?
Like I just heard, like he came within 4 to 5%, specifically in New York, in Bronx and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
In Bronx and Brooklyn, majority African American population.
Things are changing. And even New Jersey was close. I think New Jersey was like a 4-point loss for him.
Yeah, he
And
came
Kenny
close in
said that.
Virginia.
Came close in New Mexico. He did good. And he came pretty freaking close in Virginia, too.
He won these counties in southern Texas, right along the border, that are like 90% Latino. The last time a Republican won it was like 84 or something crazy like that, and he won it, and that no one could believe it. So
He was winning in Corpus Christi.
and that Galveston, where that dirty brown water, that's not a beach.
But it was, I feel like it took a lot longer than people might have expected in the sense of, counting these votes. North Carolina, I feel like could have been called hours before. I said should have been called.
I'm not going to lie. I was shocked about North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah, North Carolina typically leans blue.
It hasn't, though. It hasn't the last 2 elections.
Yeah, they only went for Obama in 2008 when Obama was like the magical. I thought he was like Martin Luther King and JFK combined. I was such a believer in Obama back then. We had 8 years of Bush. Like, finally, we'll have peace. He's going to close Guantanamo Bay. We'll have healthcare. You'll see. He gave us like the shittiest healthcare ever. And the wars continued, and he never shut down that. And then that was just so my question is woke dead? Is the woke era over? The woke era depends on where it started. It could have started with when they made Jake from State Farm black. I don't know if that's the beginning of the woke era. It depends. Was it the Gamergate? Was it Obama's second term? Was it the Trayvon Martin? I don't know, but some vague term known as woke started somewhere. Is it done now?
I don't know if it's dead yet, because what I saw the other night when we went down to that Kamala rally, there was 100,000 people. So they all are they're all drinking that Kool-Aid. So I don't know if it's dead yet, but I will say it is dying, and I do think people are starting to smarten up.
Well, this is why I think if it is dying, Trump winning the popular vote is so important, because it's like not to use the most overused reference of all time, but it's like a 1984 culture of fear. Everyone's afraid to say what they think. Everyone's afraid. Like HR has infected everything with the email signatures, with the pronoun in the bio, and you say one misplaced thing, and the DEI and the diversity training and microaggressions and all this, and most people well, did he kill anyone? No. Then okay, let's move on with our life here. And it was just like this reign of terror when you never knew. Remember with Black Lives Matter, post the black square. Why did everyone you don't post the black square? You're blocking out the hashtag. Then like unironic racists just post a white square. I thought that was funny.
Jesus.
So I don't know. We went through like almost a Maoist revolution, and it reached its peak in 2020. And I think they jumped the shark when they said, you can protest for George Floyd, but not for anything else, because like racism is the real epidemic. And then everyone was cooped inside. All that energy was released. And instead of that being channeled into anything productive, like police reform or better training or universal body cams or a limit on no-knock raids, they got nothing done. Just riots all over the place, and now the crime's way up. And did this lead to the wave that's bringing Trump in? California passed they unwokeified their crime, because years before they made it not a felony as long as you stole merchandise less than $950. They undid that. They're saying, no, actually, it turns out crime was illegal for a reason. Stealing was made illegal from the dawn of civilization and the Code of Hammurabi for a reason. If you just let everyone do it, all the stores will close, because why would you stay open? You couldn't even afford to stay open unless you're a charity with infinite money.
Yeah. I will say this about the Democratic Party. I do feel like there's a shift. I do feel like they need to reevaluate their whole party. When I say a shift too, I mean a shift in like what people are, people are starting to wake up a little bit. And if the Democrats don't do something, I think, drastic and change their number one issue, which is just, women's rights and women's, pushing abortion and shoving that down people's throat, because that clearly didn't just work. They're going to lose the next 2 elections very badly. I don't know who they put up next, though, by the way, too. I'm thinking, like,
I was literally just about to say
who was the
that.
next person that they're going to throw up?
The only one they could have that would be good is Michelle Obama, but she doesn't want to do it because who wants all that smoke? What do they have? Pete Buttigieg? Yeah, who's going to vote for him? Or like, what else is on their docket?
I honestly thought, like, after Obama, like the shift in the Democratic Party in terms of like grabbing the young people, like I thought they were going to take command, but they didn't take advantage of that. They just went right back to old people, and I'm like, okay, that's the wrong shift. But when you look at the Republican Party, look at the way how they're set up, even after these 4 years. The vice president, soon to be vice president JD Vance, could run.
Yeah.
You have Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
Who could be also run as well.
that guy Vivek, that guy Vivek, he
Vivek
gets really
Ramaswamy.
good.
Yeah.
Like you have
Ron
guys.
DeSantis from Florida. He's going to be back.
Exactly.
He's cooked. He doesn't have that it factor. He's like another Jeb.
Oh God, I can't. No,
Yeah,
he's not as
no,
bad
not
as Jeb.
Jeb,
He's
not
not
Jeb.
low energy Jeb.
No.
He's done a great job with Florida. I give him credit for that.
That's a ceiling, though, I think. But we'll see.
But like the Republican Party, they have people after Trump to continue this momentum. Like, how does the Democratic Party recover?
What are they going to throw up? Like Tim Walz?
It's so funny.
Molesting Tim Walz,
It's
tampon Tim. They can't put him up.
It's so funny. This is like almost a mirror of 2016. You have first female president. They run so hard on that. They make that part of the identity. And with the Dobbs decision, with the Supreme Court sending abortion back to the states, it made it even more salient. Tim Walz and what was the guy? Tim Kaine? They look like clones. They look like they got them at the generic white man factory. Like, hey, hello, my fellow white voters. And they were supposed and then they get their ass kicked, and then they don't even come out that night to give a speech, and they just hide in their bunker. Both Hillary and Kamala did this, and
I'm telling you, that's not a good look.
You're not beating the women. They're weak allegations. Like it's just you gotta be like a psycho bitch, like Margaret Thatcher. If you're a female leader, she's like she fucking defeat Argentina in a war when they took this worthless island.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it looks absolutely classless on Kamala's part to just not come out and these people supported you. These people went out and took the time to vote for you, and you don't even have the decency to go out and just at least say thank you for coming out tonight. We didn't come out successful, but I just appreciate your support and you guys, voting for me and giving me the time of day. And they don't even have the class to do that. And Hillary did the same shit with her. They sent that molesting creep out John Podesta from Pizzagate to talk to the crowd and just go home. We're gonna keep counting the votes and we'll see you tomorrow. Like these people
There's
were out
still
here
a lot
all
of
night
votes.
long. You could at least go out and address the crowd and be like, hey, thanks for coming out tonight. You don't even have to stay out there long, but at least a simple, hey, thanks for coming out tonight.
I think
I don't know. I
the
think
rumors.
it's not
I mean,
good.
this is obviously just it could be all slander, but I think they were both like completely hammered and like they were too much of a hot mess to come out. So who the hell knows?
I did hear that. I did hear it was quite emotional. That I did hear. I can't confirm nor deny because I don't know.
Well, is this like a sign that maybe women shouldn't?
Well, let's not go too far. Women.
Run for
This is
I
women's.
ain't touching that one.
So what do we know about this? Donald Trump beats women. He beats them twice now. So we
Not domestic violence.
So Joe must be so happy. He's sitting there. He's eating his ice cream. He's like, I'm Joe Biden. This is my dream. I've been in the Democratic Party for 4 billion years. I told Clarence Thomas that he put a pubic hair in a Coke can during his hearings. He's been there even back when he had hair, and he looked like a weirdo. As Trump says, he was dumb even then. But anyway, in politics, he put his time in. It was finally his he was vice president because he was like generic white guy, but was better than Tim Walz and Tim Kaine. He actually had that pizzazz, Scranton Joe, who rides the train. Then his brain started going, but that didn't stop his family and the people around him that were getting rich and loving his wife. his wife actually made like a custom first lady song for those like military guys to play for her. So that's just a little psycho shit. And so they wanted him in, but then his brains leaked out on a debate, and they realized that they were going to get absolutely cooked. So they're like, Joe, step down. Like, what do you mean, Jack? I can beat Trump. I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And then they stole the password. They stole his phone and the password to his Twitter. He's like, I'm actually resigning, and Kamala's amazing. And he's probably like, listen, Jack, Trump, I'm not going to rig it this time. I'm turning off the rigging machines. You got it.
Yeah, I will. Well,
so that will go down. I'm the only one that can beat Trump. They should have never did that to me.
yeah, I will say this. If Biden never pulled out last night, like if he never pulled out of the race, Trump might have gotten 400 electoral votes.
Yeah. They would have won New Jersey, I think.
New York would have been a lot more interesting. I think he could have won in a lot of states that he wouldn't have won last night.
Now, a lot of people are saying, all right, Kamala's candidacy is horrible, and I definitely get it, because in 2020, she got like 0%. I remember Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat back then, completely just like obliterated her, and she had nothing to say. Her only big moment was she's like, I don't even remember what it was. She was like, Joe Biden, there was like a segregated bus, and I was on that bus. Like, I don't even know what that little girl was me. I don't even know what she was talking about. Somehow, like, Joe Biden was like Jim Crow against her. Something. He's old enough that he could have, too. It could have been corn pop with her. But that was her moment. She got 1%. She burned. Then he did her no favors by saying, oh, I'm going to pick a woman. Some people, like, everyone remembers it as, like, black woman, but from what I read, he only said woman. But I think because he said Supreme Court, who knows? They have the DEI issue that has finally come into the forefront that a lot of people don't like anymore. And I would feel bad for her if she wasn't like a politician. She clearly has some sort of anxiety disorder where she does not like giving press interviews. That cackle that everyone's making fun of, that is 100% a nervous laugh. And she's just unable to be authentic. If she could just go on Joe Rogan and shoot the shit for 3 hours, she would do a lot better. But their strategy was to hide her. But with the internet, they don't have that media control anymore. And but I think it was just she was a sacrificial lamb anyway, because no one was winning this. With the inflation was horrible. The economics, most people I love that the media would be like, actually the economy's good. You're dumb. Like I can't afford groceries. Source? Do you have a source for that? My family's struggling. Source? Peer-reviewed study.
We're living on the street. That's my source.
And they're just so out of touch. The Democratic Party really they needed to get this lesson in 2016, and they didn't. They gaslit themselves. It was Russia. And then, all right, like all they ever found on Russia is like they spent $50,000 on Facebook ads. I'm like, okay, and then when you dig into that, they would buy like left wing and right wing, because their whole goal is to make everyone fight each other and think everyone else is an agent, which is, if you're destabilizing a country, that's the goal. Then they lucked with COVID. They were blaming everything COVID for Trump, but years later, most of the Trump positions on COVID were vindicated. Like the vaccine was actually under his program, but they announced it the day later. But he wasn't mandating it like Biden was. The lockdowns, all the Republican governors ended that. And then now what do we find out? That all the kids lost like 5 years worth of education as far as their development. And, the economy still hasn't recovered. And it helped the people at the top and the Walmarts and the Amazons and destroyed the mom and pops. So, like, they were cooked. And that's why you knew, because I think Shapiro turned her down. Like Whitmer, I
agree, and I was saying that too. And even if she had Shapiro, she might have still lost Pennsylvania. I think Shapiro knew she wasn't winning.
All right, I have to say this to Shapiro, because a lot of people that watch this think we're probably ultra MAGA all the way. He is the most competent governor I've ever seen in my life in Pennsylvania, only for the reason where when that idiot crashed in the 95 and destroyed it, I'm like, oh, great. It's going to be a year. We're completely fucked. They fixed that in a week. That is the first time in my life that the government actually fixed a road in like any reasonable amount of time. So I just imagine if he has that ability, maybe he would be a half decent president. But he clearly had eyes on 2028. They were leaving Kamala as the sacrificial lamb because they know she's cooked. Like, just get rid of her. She's got like 1% in the polls. She's like the female Democratic Jeb, I guess.
Yeah, she's awful. She ran. I think she ran an absolutely horrible campaign.
Because even though if someone like Shapiro would be better, they might have. It could have been like JFK would have lost this election with the Democrats. So
yeah.
So who the hell knows?
Yeah, I mean, the Kamala, to me, it was every time I watched her speak, it was all she did was just bash Trump the whole time, and she pushed the whole abortion thing. That was the only things I feel like she brought to the table.
Their strategy was so bad. These staffers, because there's apparently high turnaround. They tried to go like, oh, we're so happy and joy and we're above the fray, and then she would attack Trump and call, like she gave like a 3-minute press conference, like, attention everyone, Trump is Hitler, thank you, and people are like, I can't afford eggs. What are you doing?
Not only that, but if you guys noticed, each time that she spoke, it was the same damn speech.
Yeah,
like
it was very repetitive.
Very.
I grew up in a middle-class
she's a
household,
fucking
though.
moron.
Like collard greens first off, let me tell you something right now. That collard greens in the bathtub bullshit, that's nasty. All right, I'm just gonna put that out there.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Because
All right,
Said
so
that
go ahead. So one of the stories that she used to tell, is that when she was growing up trying to relate to African Americans, she would say, "Oh yeah, my mother, growing up, she used to put collard greens in the bathtub and things of that nature and wash them." First off, let me tell you something. Black people don't do that. Let me tell you something right now. On behalf of the black delegation, we don't do that.
We draft Eminem.
That's disgusting.
Well, wasn't that our story? That's like, well, we made so many that we had to use the bathtub, but yeah, like it's gross.
We don't do that.
Listen, no one knows less about
thought she
collard
was
greens
Indian.
than me, but I thought that was a non-plausible.
what is she? What is her nationality, by the way? She Indian? She black? What?
Well, then she attacked
And
Trump
she's a
because
woman?
Trump's like, she became black. But then I think a lot of the black community were like, thinks like, I don't know, maybe she is more Indian. I don't know. It's
I
like,
think I saw Candace Owens actually do a whole entire like Ancestry.com on her and like discovered, she has no type of.
How do you feel
black
about
in her
Candace
whatsoever.
Owens? Tyre?
I mean, don't matter to me. Hey,
I mean,
I don't feel no type of way towards her.
the funniest thing is
she's sharp. I give her that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
No,
want
she's
to
a hell of a
debate her.
no. She's
I
a hell of a
wouldn't want to debate
debater.
her. She's tough.
I want no parts of her when it comes to debates.
well, because she she's pretty good, but she's gone off the deep end on a lot of topics. But what was I saying on Kamala? Oh, the other thing is like, all right, even if she does have the black heritage, her family's from Jamaica, and apparently like she descends from like one of the biggest slave plantation owners on the whole island, on like the Indian side, or the father. I don't know. So wouldn't that cancel out the? She had to pay reparations to herself.
So, do you guys think Kamala comes back in 4 years? Do you think
Kamala is done.
Do you think you think a fork? You think she's done forking her?
It'd be stupid for her to come back. I'm gonna be
I don't
honest
think
with you.
she has no chance.
First
I mean,
off, when
wants
she
to.
first ran, 4 years ago, like she didn't do very well.
She didn't do good.
Like she was hot ass garbage.
Yeah.
Like she was horrible. So I wouldn't suggest running again. And the only reason why you even got half the support that you got was off the strength that Joe Biden, quote unquote, dropped out.
Yeah.
They just they botched Biden's whole presidency when the whole thing was like, all right, Trump was doing pretty good, but obviously he's a complete lunatic and says a lot of crazy shit nonstop, and then they harp on that. Obviously, okay, but people were relatively okay. But then the pandemic happened, everything shut down, everyone's terrified. Especially at the beginning, they thought it was like Ebola, that you're gonna die, and they had this death counter and everything. With all this going on, they barely squeaked by him. And when Joe ran on like, this is just a return to normalcy and decency, and then he kind of implied that he'd be a one-term president because he's so old, and instead of that, I guess because of the staffers he surrounded him with, instead of just being some moderate like blue dog Democrat like a Joe Manchin kind of thing, try and bring both sides together, he thought he had some mandate for some progressive revolution, and they tried to push forward all sorts of crazy things, and then when they won the 22 midterms, Joe thought, okay, I'm in, and then he ran again. But he was too old. He was cooked, and now they're probably wishing they just let Trump win in 2020. They'd be done with him now.
Yeah.
Instead, you have 12 years of him haunting over you. He's gonna appoint the entire Supreme Court.
Yeah. He's about to go off. in
The
his next 4 years.
House and the Senate?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And he's a lame duck.
Mm.
He's about to shove everything through that door.
He's gonna be like the Emperor in Star Wars. He's just I have abolished the Senate.
But I will say this. Just wanted to read a tweet. Angel Reese tweeted early this morning. I'm so disappointed in America. Some of you just couldn't selfishly put your pride aside. With a bunch of question marks. If anything, she should be happy. She was complaining about not being able to afford her apartment. And, housing prices are probably going to go down, so she might be able to now.
This is just, even if you believe, We live in what you call a democracy. Whether it's a good idea or not, I support monarchy for myself as long as I get to be the king. But I digress. Anyway, if you live in a democracy, you can't just wag your finger at the voters and just try and shame them and say, like, if you fucked up, the problem is you, not the voters. Can't they just stop being sexist and racist? No, you need to figure out a way to appeal to people. Like, and not everyone that there's a lot of people that voted Obama, Trump. Are they all like psychopaths? They gave the black guy a shot twice, but they didn't like the white woman. Like, what is going on here? Most people are kitchen table issues, and then the Democrats needed to reanalyze their whole strategy in 2016, but they didn't do it. They let them. It's Russia, and then they bought into their own bullshit. So here's what they got to. They still don't understand Trump, and I'm going to try my best to explain Trump and where he comes from, and so they can figure it out because they have to do a lot of soul searching. So there was this thing. It was called the Cold War, and we had Team USA, Team Liberalism, Freedom. We prevailed in the Second World War. Then we had those dirty, rotten commies.
We're undefeated, by the way, in world wars.
Undefeated in world wars. Although if we had World War III, I think China would take it right now. So, Elon, you better start making some Wunderwaffen and get ready to destroy them. But anyway, there was this Cold War consensus. America is the shining city on the hill. We must contain Russia. We have to send the troops to everywhere. And then the cracks started to form in Vietnam. And they're like, what the fuck are we doing here? We're fighting for freedom. And then there's like a famous quote by a fucking general. We had to burn the village to save it. So, long story short, with Vietnam, we killed a bunch of people. We got our ass kicked anyway. We sprayed all sorts of like fucking chemical weapons on them to try and make the leaves fall off the trees so we could see them and bomb them. But anyway, so that was the first thing. But America was like identified by its opposition to Russia, and I think this was reached its peak with Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan was seen as like this great guy, but I think his opinion's about to change. So, he'd tear down this wall and all this stuff. And he gave the first amnesty where there was a lot of people in the country. He's like, all right, well, I'll give amnesty, but we're going to do border security. California turned blue permanently after that, and they never did the border security. So then after that, things chug along. The 90s are good, but then we have this thing called 9/11. It really sucks. George W. Bush. And then what does he do? He invades Iraq and Afghanistan. We have Dick Cheney and the weapons of mass destruction, and it's all fake, and it's all stupid. And we kill 1 million civilians, and we have all sorts of veterans all screwed up that can't get a good night's sleep. And then after that, we have a huge economic collapse and, the whole mortgage bubble. And Obama comes in with this. He's the savior. He's the new guy. But he ends up being a corporate sellout. And we have Occupy Wall Street, and they, I believe, inject identity politics in it to undermine the people. They didn't want a huge populist, all the poor and middle-class people working together against the rich assholes. So they're like, oh, well, I am actually a black woman in a wheelchair. I think I should speak before you. And that just divides people. So you have that. And then the first movement you have against that is the Tea Party and Sarah Palin. And they slowly take over, but then they're just shoving more shit. And then with the Iraq war, and you have these, Mitt Romney, Bain Capital, these just total scumbags taking.
Man, I think people realized, like, John McCain had no shot in 08. And he tried to pick a female, running partner, running mate, and it just went horribly wrong because people realized that she was a complete idiot.
As much of an idiot she is, she's got more with the current thing than John McCain. John McCain's old news. John McCain's like, he never met a country he didn't want to bomb. So what do we do? Like, everyone, there's no health care. No one can get a good job. The middle class is hollowed out with this globalization. We have NAFTA. People are probably too young to remember Ross Perot. He was just some nerd that ran as a third party in 92. He's like, you're going to hear a large sucking sound. Those are your jobs sucking to Mexico. He was right. And, but yeah, the current regime was all about just invading all countries, globalism at all costs, open borders, open trade. So you send all the jobs overseas, you bring people in to outcompete people. The price of housing, education, food, clothing, everything's up. So Trump is this big fuck you at the system, and they still don't get it. You're in a democracy, you decry populism. You need to lean in the populism. So what did they do? They stump with Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney. They're idiots, and they gotta readjust in a Bernie kind of direction.
It was a hell of a rant there, Ken.
Yeah, I try.
It was a hell of a rant.
History lesson.
So guys, like, I'll ask you this. So Trump's back in office. A lot of stuff's probably going to change. hopefully for the better. I feel good about it. Elon's in there now. He's got a lot of smart people. He's built a pretty good, regime around him.
We got the smartest regime.
He's got the greatest regime, right?
So,
All right.
How do you
best.
what I was going to ask is how do you feel about the future of this country? Do you feel good about it? Do you think it's going to be
well, I agree with
heading in a better direction?
I agree with the exit polls. It said 75% think it's in the wrong direction. I think, because think about Trump. This is what's so funny. That they think, look at it, he's a buffoon, he's a clown, all the felonies, all this and that, and he's crass. And if he's such a fool, then what are you? How does this guy keep outfoxing you? He's crude and crass because people like Michael Moore said right before the 2016 election, it kind of went viral. Trump is a giant fuck you to the system. Trump is throwing a grenade into the whole political structure. People are sick and tired. This whole middle class, the interior, it's all hollowed out. It's full of fentanyl. It's just hopelessness, deaths of despair, and they're doing nothing to save this. So it's in dire straits. And just think about how the education has gone down. People are more ignorant than ever. They watch reality TV. So it's almost like the system is mocking itself. It's the system that is making us all dumb and poor and idiots created Donald Trump. And people go, hey, that's the guy. He says you're fired. Ha, ha, ha. And then that's what created it. He's got this populist uprising, and you see these voters only go for him. So, but right now, I feel like it's a lot. If he's going to succeed, it's going to be a lot better than his first term, because he's made the Republican Party much more in his image. Even if he just golfs the whole time and tweets at 3 a.m. while he's taking a shit and saying Lion Ted, right? They call him Lion Ted. If he just does that, you'll have J.D. Vance and Elon Musk running the government. I mean, Elon Musk is literally a genius. People are just shit on him, and he's an idiot that got lucky. Yeah, he keeps getting lucky, and he just redefines industries 27 times in a row. And, I don't know, he only does rocket science with SpaceX, and then he does brain surgery with Neuralink. So I think he's probably kind of smart. Well, that was just the engineers. Well, then where are the other companies hiring these guys and then doing it? So shut up about Elon Musk being an idiot. You can hate him, but he's smart.
Tyler, I'll ask you, how do you feel about the future?
I mean, I agree with Kenny. I really do. I mean, and I agree with the exit pollers. I mean, I didn't really approve of the direction that we were going in. I mean, I look back to the pandemic years, and around that time, that's when, life really started hitting me. I started getting real jobs.
Yeah.
I had to pay real bills.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it being hard. I had a truck back then, and, trucks, and it was an old truck. So it was a gas guzzler. I don't remember ever be bitching and moaning about having to fool that sumbitch up.
Yeah.
And then I think about the last 4 years, and I don't have that truck no more. But I have a 4-door, little small car, very fuel efficient. But I'm bitching and moaning, fueling up that little sumbitch. Yeah. Something ain't right here. And I'm also thinking about the fact that now, in order to give my family eggs, I got to pay $7, $8 for a dozen eggs. That's ridiculous. I think about the fact that I'm paying more for all my produce, all my clothes. Like, I'm paying more for things now than I was during those 4 years. And I sit back and I'm going, you know what? People complained about those 4 years, but let's be honest here. The stock markets were excellent. People could afford houses. By the way, that's another thing. I want to move my family into a big enough house where everybody has their own fucking room. I can't do that right now. Straight up. Because what I make now and, the market right now for houses, I got to wait for the market to crash.
You sound a little racist and sexist right now.
Yeah, well, if that...
You should just be thankful for Kamala. No. And don't mispronounce her name. It's Kamala, okay? So.
Listen,
we're getting men out of women's sports.
Listen, I'm black. I can't be racist.
Oh, that's true. That. I forgot about that one. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh trap card.
Again, we're getting men out of women's sports, which I'm happy to see. Tampon Tim's out the window. I feel a lot better with Trump in there with foreign relations. Like we talked about this last week.
Yep.
Especially with these wars. I think Ukraine is shitting themselves now with him in there.
This Ukraine is just a microcosm of everything fucking wrong with this country. And allow me to go on a little bit of a history lesson. Not as much as fucking Putin on Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you guys saw that interview.
I did see that.
He's like, Putin, well, what's with this? Well, you see, it all starts in 980 with the Kievan Rus, and then Yaroslav the Wise. This is why you don't even get involved with these European conflicts. The beefs go back thousands of years. There's no, someone stole a bucket 2,000 years ago, and now we're nuking each other. So here's the problem with Russia-Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, like basically, if you talk to a Russian, and Ukrainians get real mad. They basically are just gonna say that Ukrainian isn't even a real language. They just speak like a Russian Ebonics. That's what the Russians say. Ukrainians like, what does we do not do that, and it's so they're all pissed off at each other, and it goes back thousands of years. So in 2014. We do a State Department's finances through all these NGOs and the Alliance for Democracy and all this shit. Basically, a soft coup happens in 2014 called the Euromaidan, where the corrupt, shitty regime that was more in favor of Russia gets replaced by a corrupt, shitty regime more in favor of the West. And Russia's like, we don't want you in NATO. We don't want American tanks and missiles and shit right up our back door. This is unacceptable. Also, they had the Black Sea base in Crimea. And they were like, we're canceling it. What are you going to do about it, Vladimir? And they said it's like you're not allowed to teach Russian to children, even though there's a huge Russian population in East Ukraine. So Vladimir goes in 2014 and he takes Crimea and a bunch of sanctions, and then they bitch and moan about it. And then we egg them on again, and they're like, oh, okay. There are multiple peace processes, multiple off ramps. All they want is like stay out of NATO, stay neutral. We egg them on. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. We got you. And then, guess what? They fucking invaded, and it's a horrible shit show on both sides. Like, there's going to be millions dead and displaced. The Ukraine is completely destroyed, but a lot of people were money laundering through Ukraine. Hunter Biden had a job at a Ukrainian energy company. What does he know about energy? Does he speak Ukrainian? The same thing with John Kerry and Nancy Pelosi's kid, I believe. A bunch of Washington insiders have it because it's their favorite money laundering operation. So,
oh God.
So put this all aside. Let's just act in American self-interest. What did this do? We sanctioned them. It caused the price of energy to skyrocket. If you remember when Democrats first started acknowledging inflation after calling it non-existent, then they said it's transitory. Then their PR move, it's Putin's price hike. Like, hey guys, if Putin's so bad, you can't rely on him not to hike the price. They produce so much oil and natural gas, and they produce nitrates and ammonia, potash. So they basically create a huge amount of energy and the fertilizers used for food. So you cause huge increases in the price of food worldwide, especially in the Middle East and Africa, poor third world countries because they get it directly from Ukraine, Russia area, and Belarus. And you cause global oil prices to go way up. So that's the inputs on everything. So it's not just filling up your gas tank. Every good that we have shipped from China increases the shipping costs because the prices go up. It's the input in the economy. If food and energy go up, everything goes up, from a fucking Tic Tac to a camera to everything. So they're like, oh, well, we couldn't help the inflation. No, you literally caused it with your policy. And then what do you let happen? You back the Israel thing, and then you let a bunch of Houthis with like 2 drones and like a rocket launcher shut down the Red Sea, and now nothing's getting. So their foreign policy is like, oh, we're going to invade the world and make it an American democracy, and we'll bring peace and justice for all. Your track record is horrible. Every country hates us because whenever we help, we just kill them all. Stop helping. Just come back here, chill here, secure our own border. Nothing against people that want to get here and have a better life. Like, who would blame them? But, we got to focus on ourselves first until everyone is hunky-dory up on their feet and ready to go. A lot of people are struggling until every zombie in Kensington is wearing a suit and working as in a finance job. There shouldn't be a single illegal immigrant in this country. So we got to focus on our own people first. And then they were genius, but busing the illegals to like New York and everywhere. Like, think about like, what groups of people in this country have centuries long grievances? Oh, I don't know, like Native Americans and like black people. And what are we doing? We're letting people that just cross the border, we're giving them all the free shit, putting them in housing, raising the price of housing, screwing people over that have never had a. So that's why a lot of people broke for Trump. They're done with the bullshit. We want America to be biased towards Americans. And who gives a shit about Taiwan, Ukraine, or anywhere? Just give all our shit, protect our country, and put all our shit here and give everyone health care.
Oh my gosh, I just learned a lot just sitting there listening to you.
Unbelievable.
I didn't know that energy went that far. And when you think about it, in the fact that we import so much instead of creating things here in the United States, that makes total sense.
And then even if we did make it here, energy is that important. Anything that goes on a truck, if the price of gas, even if you're taking it from California to Missouri, it's going to go up. And then, food. So there was already, right after the Ukrainian war, I don't know because Americans are dumb and don't like even read anything that the TV doesn't tell them to be mad at. There was a literal like a revolution in Sri Lanka because they listened to these like globalists like, oh, we're gonna have eco-friendly food. It's gonna be all organic. Well, since no one in Sri Lanka has a pot to piss in or 2 pennies to hold together, like the price of food tripled right after this because they produce most of the grain in the world in Ukraine. That's why their flag is yellow and blue. They're saying, look at the wheat fields and the sky above. The Hitler was obsessed with it. He wanted to like take it all and make it Germans grow all the food in the world. So it's a very valuable region. A bunch of fucking evil, corrupt billionaires are trying to steal it. Putin just wants it for his. This is the world. This is the realist. This is realist politics. It's called great powers want their own shit. Regional powers want their own shit. Unless you're willing to risk nuclear war, this is why NATO is so stupid. For instance, there's a sizable Russian minority in Estonia. Estonia has like 3 million people. So what if some like dickhead took over Estonia and he's like Estonian Hitler and he's like, I hate the Russians. They suck. And he starts beating the shit out of the Russians and Putin's right there. You will not disrespect my people. And then he goes and invades. Are we then what? Are we supposed to send our troops in and then what? We start drone striking them and then do we have a nuclear exchange over Tallinn, Estonia? How about we worry about our own fucking country? No, all love to the Europeans. And believe me, if I was a Ukrainian, if I was an Estonian, if I was Polish, I'd be shitting myself about Russia. Russia definitely deserves a rough reputation. There was that one comedian where he's like, if he's in a like a rough ghetto neighborhood, he just puts on a Russian accent. Like, you think this is bad neighborhood? So Russians are definitely the scariest white people on earth. I wouldn't mess with them. And if I was Polish or whatever, Ukraine, I'd be doing everything to bring the U.S. into this. But not our problem. We had this thing, it's called the Atlantic Ocean. Good luck, Vlad, sailing your fucking landing craft. We also have the Pacific Ocean. All we have to do is come back, secure the border. I would take over Canada, frankly, but we'll get to that another day. And yeah, we'll be good. We have enough natural resources. We could like completely like trade with people, but we don't need to. And it's so, and this is proven that. So if you follow like military history, like what's his name? Rich. Just talking about it. But basically, in World War II, they were like, oh, battleships are the hot shit. And then they invested so much. They were these huge ships. And they realized that they weren't worth shit because the aircraft carrier, one plane takes it out. So you spend all this money on it. Then for the last 80 years, aircraft carriers been top dogs. But with these drones and cheap missiles, all right, each drone costs $1,000. Our missiles cost like $10 million each at the cheapest end. Send 1,000 drones at the aircraft carrier that costs $10 billion. Okay, I shot down 99%. Well, one hits, you're sunk, it's done. So the entire game has changed. It's more asymmetric. Our whole thinking is outdated. And this Russian-Ukrainian war, which we think, oh, our doctrine, we're going to show Russia who's boss. Russia's gaining like World War III level experience. And the people that exported all of our manufacturing to China are so stupid. If we got in a war with China, we would run out of bombs and shit in like 3 months. And then if you look at shipbuilding capacity, China is able to build anywhere between 20 and 300 times the ships as we can. Like World War II, we won because we could build planes faster than the Germans and Japanese could shoot them down. We could build a bunch of shit. It's
just tougher. We built tougher.
So
planes
everyone
too.
this is why the tariffs are so important. Oh, it's going to raise the prices. Okay, yeah. Well, what the COVID exposed this. Like, what if all your blood pressure medicine comes from China, and they say, well, we don't like you. You're not getting it. What if all our electronics and everything, and then you're up shit creek without a paddle? So even if shit's more expensive, for geopolitical and strategic reasons, we need to have the ability that if China told us to go fuck ourselves, which, you know, based on the death and mayhem we've caused to the world, I wouldn't even blame them. Honestly, they've caused. Everyone thinks China's horrible. They kind of just oppress their own people. Everyone else they're chill with. They're like, hey, you want a high-speed train? I would let them build the high-speed train here. That's why, like, invest in real estate. They can't take it with them. And the second they do something, it's ours again. So we need to be able to build planes and tanks and cars and drones and missiles and laptop computers and batteries and all this shit. We did it to save $10. You know, the shoes are made overseas by child slaves for 2 cents, and they're still selling it to you for $100. So just make it here, and then they'll make less money. Oh no!
All of this going on, and yet and still Saquon Barkley's insane hurdle is what's catching highlights and still trending. That's amazing. I'm just saying.
Unbelievable play, by the way, by Saquon.
That's like an all-time best Eagles play. I mean,
that is one of the greatest plays I've ever seen, and it almost looked effortless for him.
As much of a piece of shit that game is, it had so many unbelievable plays. The Smitty catch.
There was three. I mean, there was three phenomenal plays in that game. John Dotson's catch, Smitty's catch, and it was all overshadowed by Saquon's hurdle.
I swear to you, not Saquon Barkley can catch HIV and still be a virgin. Like it's incredible how amazing his hands are.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. Really, really good.
What's not amazing is the person that's
this team is, and it's a shame because they have a lot of talent, and you're starting to see it. They're starting to really, really, come into their own. A lot of these young players. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell's already a star in this league. I mean, the guy is just phenomenal. DeJean looks really good. Nakobe Dean has developed into what looks to be a pretty good linebacker.
Everyone is so impatient. Everyone remember Brandon Graham and then Nakobe Dean. Like, come on, give guys some time.
It's just not going to happen with this coach. This coach is the Achilles heel of this team, and unfortunately, good play is not going to outdo bad coaching. So until I rooted for the Eagles to lose this past week so they could fire their coach.
You're like the epitome of the Negadelphia. All the Philly diehards are gonna be shitting on you for that.
I'm gonna catch some heat for it, but I think this team has the talent to make a deep run into the playoffs, but I don't feel like they do with this head coach.
You know what? You can shit on me too, because after that Barkley non-fumble, which that's a whole different story in and of itself. Like I kid you not, I was ready for that team to lose, and I wanted that team to lose because at that point I was like, you know what? I hope they lose just so we can highlight Nick Sirianni and his idiocy.
His mental deficiencies with going for 2 points 72 times, not kicking the field goal on 4th down, and then he tries to kick like a 57-yarder, and that one hits the post. Like, he almost lost that game that should have been a blowout. I mean, the refs with that horrible call, that was definitely the bookies called them. Like, yo, it's a fumble. Get on it. But, yeah, Sirianni needs to go. He's a bum. But if he keeps winning, I'll just cautiously be optimistic. But all the people, like, stop criticizing him. He's won how many in a row?
4?
Yeah, well, remember when they were 10-0 last year? How did that end, guys?
And by the way, last year up to that point, we were still winning with basically the same talent, and the same crazy ass plays.
Yeah, the play calling last year was even worse. I feel like it's gotten a little bit better. I think Kellen Moore's done a little bit of a better job, but this team is just not going to beat. They're not going to beat the good teams. I mean, they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville's bad, and they should have smoked that team. That should have been a 35-7 win at best, and they had to rely. Thank God. I mean, Nick Sirianni should be wearing a Nakobe Dean jersey on the sidelines next week because if it wasn't for him, there's a good chance I think he gets fired if they lose that game. If they found a way to lose that game, I think there was a very good chance he got fired.
I'm so happy for him coming into his own though. Like, it's just like the second Brandon Graham. Where remember everyone wanted Earl Thomas. Like, how dare we pick Brandon Graham? And now Brandon Graham.
Earl Thomas had a pretty good career.
Also, Jason Pierre-Paul as well.
Yeah, but then he busted his hand with a fireworks.
Yeah, dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, all three guys got rings, so it's you can't. Now, did Brandon Graham have the best career out of all of them? Yeah, longevity wise, probably, but Earl Thomas in his prime was pretty damn good too.
Well, that's just, I guess my point is it's not over till the fat lady sings. Everyone makes these judgments, but you don't know till like 5 years after everyone has retired and you look back and see how it really went. And then they could always play pull an OJ later. So then that guy you thought was great, he becomes the murderer. So
yeah,
he could pull Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, well, that's not the route I was going, but yeah, no,
well, that's what I'm saying. If Brandon Graham we all love, but if he ends up like killing someone in 2 years, all of a sudden no one ever knew him.
I did. If it wasn't for him, the Eagles don't win that Super Bowl, so I'll always remember him.
If Brandon Graham was on the Diddy list, do we give back the championship?
Listen, that's none of my business.
Brandon Graham can molest as many as he wants.
He got that fumble. So we're good to go. We're good to go. He stripped Tom Brady to win us a Super Bowl. Can't take that away from us.
It's true.
Can't take that away from us. Jumping back on the political thing, I had this crazy idea. What if Trump, on Inauguration Day, January 20th, brought out all the lunatics that stormed the Capitol building. He brings them back to the Capitol building
shit.
and gives one of them like a position in his cabinet. The guy whose feet were up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, he calls out.
Well, no, Elon Musk is going to fire most of the federal government. He should pardon all those guys and just give them like fucking cushy jobs. The MAGA department of triggering libs or something. And then all they do is make racist tweets all day or something. I don't know. I don't know if those guys were exactly skilled. They were good at like January 6th to me was just extremely entertaining. Everyone like acted like it was an attack on democracy. It was literally just a riot that got a little rowdy. Like, what do you think would have happened if they succeeded? One, they had no guns. It's not like Team Fortress 2 or something. You capture the command point, the government is fallen, and the military starts obeying Trump. Like, it's just a riot. They would just want to certify it somewhere else. They and for the people that created the Iraq war and like have the blood of millions of third world civilians on their hands, like the fact that like some guys made them shit their pants for like 10 minutes is kind of good. So it's whatever. But yeah, so if you say that opinion, people
Yeah,
are
that was just a quick thing that we didn't get into. But
I just want there to be a liberal January 6th now.
Oh shit.
Can you imagine a bunch of like
attacked the
blue
White
hair?
House.
It's Tranuary 6th. They have the
Yeah,
I ain't touching this one. I'm staying far away from this one.
yeah. So the Eagles play the Cowboys this weekend.
Oh yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, we'll jump off that. Eagles play the Cowboys this weekend in Dallas. Cowboys suck. Dak Prescott knows they sucked. He even said it on national TV. He got caught saying, "Wow, we suck." So the Eagles should thump this team this week, but who knows? This
Not only
team
that, he's not playing.
he's not even playing. That's true. Yeah, I mean he's
So
out with a hamstring injury.
This is when I don't look in the X and O's or anything. It's just vibes and the chakras of the universe and shit. Everything's lining up our way. This is the kind of game we blow.
All right, we blow this game. Like,
And then the Cowboys have like done well again. They're not the Giants. The Giants, they could be. I can confident we will beat the Giants 90% of the games we ever play, minimum. But the Cowboys and the Redskins play us tough.
Well, here's what I think happens. I think the Eagles do win this week, and the Commanders game is going to be a different story next week. I think the Commanders come into Philly, and now the Eagles match up with the Commanders, I think, talent-wise, but this coach scares me, and I don't know what's going to happen. Now, I very well think the Eagles could beat the Commanders, but I'm not confident going to that game on Thursday night in Philly.
It really got to change from Commanders is just so
It's ass.
generic.
It's so
I mean,
ass. I miss the Skins.
if woke is done, do they go back to the Redskins, or they could at least come up with something better?
Yeah, I think but didn't the Native American didn't the Native Americans want them to go back to the Redskins?
actually, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which they were originally like.
They should go back to the Redskins.
Going against it.
They should go back to the Redskins, but make their logo potato.
Why would they do that?
A Redskin potato.
You know what?
You think the Indians should go back to the Indians?
The Indians, the name wasn't that bad, but it was like straight out of like a 1920s racist cartoon. Like that Chief Wahoo, like I would be pissed. No lie. I after all the shit Native Americans.
Did you ever see their logo before that? It was even more out of pocket. It was crazy.
It's like imagine if they had like a minstrel
hold on.
show, kind of like black one. Like that one would not last. So. Oh, I saw some guy years ago because he was like I don't know if he was Native American, but he was just trying to prove a point. He's like, oh, well, how would you like it? And then he had he did different like ethnic groups. And he's like the New York Jews, and it was like a rabbi, but he looked like Chief Wahoo. But people were like, I would wear that hat. That looks cool. So I don't know. I want there to be like a Caucasian.
Here's
team.
the old Indians logo, by the way. You can see that.
That looks even crazier.
Tyler, did you ever see this? The old
Yeah,
Indians
I have.
logo. It's even worse.
Yeah, it looked like something straight out of the Looney Tunes. Not gonna lie.
Not good. Or this one, that's a little wild. I can see it. But,
I just like the ethnic groups that you can make a team about them and they're cool about it, like the Fighting Irish. Like, yeah, Irish are like, yeah, we are drunk idiots that fight. Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
why like half their fan base is in Delco, and
I
all
know.
of them have it. That's the symbolism of Delco. You know what Delco dad. He's got the wife beater, a Fighting Irish tattoo, and a goatee
And he's holding
on
a
the
fish.
calf. Tattoo is always on the calf.
And he's holding a fish like this.
A fish?
Yeah, like that he caught.
Oh, okay. Caught out of the Delaware River.
2 heads.
But yeah, I think that's what we got tonight.
Yeah, so
Unless you had anything else, Ken. I don't know if you had anything else to add. One thing I will say, in closing, Donald Trump just won the election, and love or hate the guy. Do we? There's got to be, in my opinion, a certain level of respect for what this guy's been through over the past.
Oh yeah, let me just recount this.
Hold
for
on,
peop-
hold on.
All right.
Let me. I'm gonna just give my opinion. Then I'll let you
All right.
go on your tangent. But being impeached twice, just the media absolutely crucified him. He went through COVID. They, no other president's ever had to deal with anything like that. Just the guy's been through so much, and to see the resiliency of what he's done, it's pretty impressive. That's all I'll say. It's pretty impressive. I know a lot of people don't like him, and this is just me trying to look down the line. Say what you want about the guy. I think it's impressive what he's been able to do, and fight back, and after losing, and he could have just walked away, and the guy can still just walk away. He's got plenty of money. He doesn't have to do this, but I think he truly does love this country and wants to fix it. And yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, just look at his whole political journey from 2015. He was considered a joke candidate that wasn't going to run. Then he ran, and then he won't get past Jeb Bush and the Bush machine. It was the one that invented you could just make fun of them for
literally ended the Bushes.
Yeah,
he ended the Bushes.
He realized you could just make fun of these losers, and it works. Like low energy Jeb, Lion Ted, right? Lion
Little
Ted,
Marco,
Little Marco. He just barrels his way through. They're like, we're not going to let you get to 1237 delegates. He does. They hit him with the October surprise. Actually, I like the touch of the pussy. And then they thought that's over for him. He wins the surprise election. From the beginning of his term, they were spying on him. They said he was a Russian agent. That was hanging over him the whole time. They didn't find shit. They impeached him twice. One of the times was because he was investigating Joe Biden's corruption with Ukraine. It's like, why are you giving money to Hunter Biden? What the fuck is this about? Then the January 6th, they impeach him. The pandemic happens. They had the vaccine but didn't release the news. He's done. They had all sorts of charges against him. They shot him twice, and he's back and better than ever. So I understand people go crazy for him, so let's just hope for the sake of the country he chills out a little bit. Everyone else chills out. We come together. We have houses and jobs and healthcare, and he makes a new GOP that isn't as shitty as the George Bush GOP, and that the Democrats get their act together and drop the toxic shit that isn't good and do a more populist Bernie perspective. Believe it or not, most Americans believe that housing should be cheap, college should be free, we should all have healthcare, and we shouldn't invade countries. But these very popular opinions get nowhere. What does get both parties before Trump agree on is open borders and bombing the entire third world and exporting your jobs and letting you die of fentanyl. So I think let's hope that he makes changes for the better. But let's see. Knowing this guy, he's going to be in the news every 10 minutes and will be scandal after scandal. But good luck, Donald.
That's what we got tonight, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, Tyre, thank you for producing the show. Yeah, you guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. We'll see you next week.